A girl is kidnapped by 3 aliens and forced to become their breeding tool. The aliens come from a planet inhabited only by males. In the past, they relied on cloning to reproduce, but without genetic diversity, no biological evolution occurred. So now, they're trying to include human females to create superior offspring. Just as the girl is about to lose her virginity, her phone suddenly rings. It summons an evil spirit, crawling out of the screen. Ghosts, aliens, monsters, and more supernatural beings begin invading the human world. But how does this apocalypse even begin? Can the girl defeat these creatures and escape her tragic fate? Welcome to my channel, and let's start today's recap. The girl's name is Momo. She was just beaten by her boyfriend for refusing to sleep with him. She feels miserable and dreams of finding a real man like the Japanese actor Ken Takakura, but it seems she was cursed, because every guy she dates turns out to be a total scumbag. During recess, Momo sees a boy from the class next door being bullied. She decides to intervene, sitting beside him, scaring off the bullies with a stern look. The rescued boy, Ken, starts to follow Momo around. He's isolated by everyone and hopes Momo will be his first friend. Ken loves talking about aliens. Momo, whose grandmother is a spirit medium, believes more in ghosts than aliens. Their beliefs clash hard. Ken insists there's no such thing as ghosts, and only the existence of aliens is reasonable. Momo fires back, fully convinced that ghosts are real. Neither can convince the other, so they make a bet to prove their claims. That night, Ken guides Momo via phone to an abandoned hospital, which is rumored to be a site where aliens abduct and experiment on humans. But what Momo fears more than aliens is the dark here. At the same time, Ken follows Momo's instructions to explore an abandoned tunnel, where it is so dark that without a flashlight you see nothing. To fight off fear, he starts singing loudly, because deep down, he's terrified of ghosts. Over the call, Momo tells Ken how her grandmother used to make her perform a ritual in public, which brought her bullies from other kids. It hurt her deeply, but she always trusts her grandma, and by extension, believes in the existence of ghosts, which is highly related to her grandma's profession. Just then, something crazy happens, and Ken starts believing in ghosts too, because right next to him appears a perverted spirit. Ken freaks out and sprints for his life, but unfortunately, the spirit known as Turbo Granny is a speedy ghost. Anyone who loses a race to her gets cursed, and without a doubt, Ken is cursed. Meanwhile, Momo rushes to rescue him, only to be stopped by 3 aliens. They tear her clothes and capture her. When she wakes up, she's imprisoned. The aliens claim they're from planet Serpo. To improve their gene pool, they intend to extract human females' wombs, turning them into breeding machines. But something unexpected disrupts their plan. Turbo Granny, obsessed with collecting male parts, emerges in the hospital through Ken's phone. Now, a supernatural turf fight is unavoidable as the interests of a ghost and aliens clash. Laser beams and spiritual energy collide, a miraculous encounter between 2 powers from entirely different realms. But Turbo Granny's main body isn't here, so she's not in her strongest form. The aliens win, and now, no one is left to save Momo. In this desperate moment, Momo recalls the ritual her grandma taught her. Her power awakens, helping her break free and kick the Serpos away. She then suppresses Ken's curse with her power, but the curse can't be lifted completely, because Ken's male part is left in the tunnel by Turbo Granny. They'll have to retrieve it to make Ken a real man again. As they head to the tunnel, Momo finally learns Ken's full name. To her surprise, it's the same as her idol, Ken Takakura. Momo can't accept Ken's name, but what is more important now is to suppress his curse. The moment she lets her guard down, Ken can transform under Turbo Granny's curse. Still, she warns Ken never to use his full name again. Daybreak finally comes, and since most ghosts only appear at night, Momo decides to take Ken home to rest. Just then, Ken's body suddenly bursts into flames. It turns out that the talisman Momo's grandma put on their gate creates a spiritual barrier that repels evil spirits, including Ken, who is still cursed by a ghost. Once Momo removes the talisman, the flames on Ken vanish. Since her grandma isn't home, Momo decides to get changed first before figuring out a way to help Ken. But just as she closes her bedroom door, the curse kicks in again. Therefore, she can only leave the door open while she changes clothes. In just one night, one nearly lost his life, and the other nearly lost her virginity. Nothing strengthens a bond like facing death together. And finally, Ken gains his first real friend. Just then, the doorbell rings. Momo remembers her grandma once said, "There's a special doorbell in their house for evil spirits." Momo worries her removing of the talisman would open the door for the evils, but she's wrong this time. Turns out, it is a monster sent by the Serpos, named Flatwoods. Strangely enough, the monster triggered the same evil spirit-only doorbell. Flatwoods quickly builds a wall around the yard, which prevents Momo from putting up the talisman to restore the spiritual barrier. Worse still, Ken is stuck inside the area. If the barrier comes back up now, he'll burn to death with the monster. to not die. Ken comes up with an idea. If Momo can suppress just the curse in his head while letting the rest of his body stay free, he can retain his self-awareness while using ghostly powers. Together, they manage to pull off this experiment, but Flatwoods is way too strong. Ken can only use his full power twice before his body gives out, and he still can't take the monster down. Momo then takes his place as the main fighter. Her psychic abilities just awaken too, and like Ken, she can't fully control them yet. But Momo is much better at thinking on her feet. She intentionally takes a hit from Flatwoods, tricking the monster into destroying the wall it built. She then uses her abilities to throw Ken out of the barrier zone and quickly slaps the talisman back up, activating the spiritual boundary and incinerating Flatwoods. The bad news is, Momo falls unconsciousness from exhaustion. Ken has turned into a monster, and now, no one's left to keep his curse under control. Ken's first target is none other than Momo, but just in the nick of time, a gray-haired beauty shows up to stop Ken. Wielding a baseball bat, she beats Ken like she's disciplining a naughty child, except he's now a raging cursed monster. Later that night, Momo wakes up, and her first concern is Ken's condition. She asks the gray-haired woman about it, who turns out to be her grandma Seiko. For some reasons, her face doesn't match her age at all. Seiko tells Momo to check the main shrine outside, where she finds Ken being held inside a special barrier that suppresses the curse. However, Ken's movement is severely limited inside it. Momo then informs Seiko of everything that happened lately. As a spirit medium, Seiko doesn't buy the whole alien thing, but the moment she hears the name Turbo Granny, her face turns serious. Turns out, the tunnel where Turbo Granny lives is haunted by a powerful earthbound spirit. Those spirits are at their strongest where they die, and that makes them pretty much invincible. Even worse, Turbo Granny has fused with the earthbound spirit, making her a powerful evil spirit even Seiko can't confront. Spirit mediums draw their power from the gods of the land. Once leaving that land, they get seriously nerfed. In a way, they're just like earthbound spirits, strongest on their home turf. That means Seiko can't go fight Turbo Granny in the tunnel, but she comes up with a plan. Turbo Granny can run up to 100 kilometers per hour, which makes her ridiculously confident in her speed. If she gets challenged, there's no way she'd turn down a race. And once they lure her out of her territory, Momo's powers should be enough to finish her off. But before that, Momo and Ken must train in preparation to confront Turbo Granny. At dawn, while Seiko chills watching TV, Momo and Ken starts a brutal training session. But right in the middle of it, Ken desperately needs to use the bathroom. Problem is, the moment he's out of Momo's sight, the curse takes over again. He doesn't want her to see him pooping. And honestly, Momo's not into it either. Just as Ken's about to explode, Seiko shifts focus. She guides Momo to better understand her psychokinesis. Unlike Seiko's spirit power, Momo's doesn't come from the gods, and they aren't limited to fighting evil spirits. No one really knows the full extent of what she can do. Bit by bit, Momo discovers a new trick. She doesn't even need to focus on her target anymore. As long as she can sense their aura, she can activate her power. Just then, Ken hits his limit, but Seiko and Momo don't want their toilet to be polluted by an unfamiliar guy trying to stop him. Luckily, driven by sheer desperation, Ken manages to outrun both Momo and Seiko and makes it to the toilet just in time. A true victory. Afterward, Seiko shares an assumption. She suspects Momo's powers were sealed at some point, and that's why she was stronger when her power first emerged. But before they can unpack that, Turbo Granny suddenly makes a terrifying appearance when She gives Momo an ultimatum to show up with Ken at the tunnel tonight, or everyone Ken has ever touched will die. Both Seiko and Ken freeze. Turbo Granny's presence once again proves how strong their enemy is. That night, Seiko prepares special outfits for Momo and Ken that offers some protection from evil spirits. This time, Momo's resolve is clear. She won't just fight to protect Ken. She's going to take down Turbo Granny to also protect the person she cares about most, her grandma Seiko. However, their plan is riddled with danger. The moment Momo and Ken enter the tunnel, Turbo Granny transforms into two giant heads, blocking both entrances. Ken tries to activate his power using the curse, but just as quickly, he becomes powerless just like a normal human. Turns out, Turbo Granny has a trick up her sleeve. She returns Ken's genitals, lifting the curse entirely. With the original plan ruined, Ken can no longer carry Momo and lure Turbo Granny away from her territory. The two are now trapped in a life or death situation. In a desperate moment, Momo recalls what Seiko has said, that Turbo Granny prided herself on her speed, so she taunts Turbo Granny, claiming that she doesn't have the guts to race. Sure enough, Turbo Granny pauses her attack and agrees to a speed contest. The rule is that Momo and Ken will get a 10-minute head start, and if she can still catch them, they lose. But Turbo Granny exploited a loophole that Momo never specified how to count those 10 minutes. So, Turbo Granny does the countdown in seconds and takes off. She instantly traps Momo using her spirit power, while Ken, in a panic, bites on Turbo Granny's breast to stop her, and luckily, the special clothes he is wearing disrupts her using the power. To escape the discomfort, Turbo Granny manages to fully possess Ken. Surprisingly, that gives Momo the opening she needed. Using her psychic power, she seals Turbo Granny who is inside Ken's body. But before they can celebrate, the earthbound spirit in the tunnel is now after them. It is a giant, crab-shaped specter with terrifying speed. Even with Turbo Granny's power fueling him, Ken can't outrun the crab. Just then, Momo notices a hot spring sign nearby. She urges Ken to lure the crab inside. Once there, she splashes the hot water onto the crab using her power. Instantly, the crab turns bright red like it has been steamed alive. The earthbound spirit is now immobilized, but Turbo Granny isn't done with them yet. She summons spirits from a nearby graveyard to assist her. At the same time, the crab gets back on its feet, and together, they corner Momo and Ken. With no other options left, Momo asks Ken to use his final power from Turbo Granny to transform, so that he can move speedily. Meanwhile, like a psychic Spider-Man, Momo uses her power to latch onto traffic lights and power towers to move. However, they both crash-landed near the train tracks by accident. In the chaos, Momo injured herself, and the pain distracts her just long enough for Turbo Granny to escape from Ken's body. What's worse, the spirits and the crab are closing in. As Turbo Granny merges with the crab, they reach their final and most terrifying form. At this point, even Seiko herself won't survive here. But Momo isn't ready to give up. She latches onto a speeding train going 120 kilometers an hour, surpassing Turbo Granny's 100. But the train won't stay that fast forever, though, and Turbo Granny manages to catch up, only to fall into Momo's trap. Blinded by her desire to win, Turbo Granny doesn't realize she has crossed out of the earthbound spirit's territory, and that moment seals her fate. With the body shared by Turbo Granny and the crab exploding, countless souls of young girls are freed. It turns out that this forgotten tunnel has once been a murder site of young girls, whose vengeful spirits merged into the giant crab. Now, finally, they are released, and ready to reincarnate as brave heroes or noble princesses in another world. Despite all her chaos, Turbo Granny wasn't truly evil. She wandered the country, offering solace to spirits unable to pass on. Seiko later performs a ritual to help those lost souls move on peacefully, but little does she know, a spirit doesn't vanish. Soon, it will bring about an even greater disaster. Now that life is back to normal, Ken has also regained his low self-esteem. He knows he's not very popular and isn't sure if he can still be friends with Momo since the crisis has passed. To his surprise, Momo waits for him at the school gate and starts chatting about supernatural stuff like they're old friends. Ken has never felt so happy before, and even the bullying from classmates doesn't hurt him as much anymore. During class, he zones out completely. The only thing on his mind is to go talking with Momo after class. Funny enough, Momo is thinking the exact same thing. As teenagers, their curiosity and the desire to share things are at their peak. At lunch break, they try to meet up, pushing through the crowded hallway, but miss each other because of the sea of students. Not giving up, they search the entire school. Thanks to this scripted coincidence, they keep missing each other. Eventually, they take a break on two benches right next to each other. Ken assumes that Momo is avoiding him, while Momo thinks Ken's the one dodging her. Luckily, fate gives them a break. They end up with running into each other head-on while walking. However, just as one misunderstanding clears up, a new one starts. A classmate sees them bumping into each other and totally misreads the moment as a kiss. In a panic, they try to explain, but somehow it turns into an argument. And just like that, Momo and Ken give each other the cold shoulder. After they go their separate ways, Momo gets questions from classmates about her relationship with Ken, and she firmly denies it. Meanwhile, Ken runs into a huge problem, that his two precious little buddies have gone missing. In a panic, he rushes to Momo for help, but she's still mad and won't talk to him. Ken can't explicitly mention it in front of everyone, so he leaves totally crushed. After school, Ken accidentally bumps into a girl named Era. She's sweet, friendly, and super cute. Ken is instantly smitten. As they are chatting happily, Momo walks by and sees them, but soon after, she overhears Era whispering with a friend, making fun of how gullible Ken is. Momo immediately uses her powers to drop Basin right on Era's head. No way she's letting anyone play with her friend's feelings. Momo then links arms with Ken, acting all chummy, but the glare she shoots Era could kill. On the way home, Momo doesn't reveal Era's true colors, because she doesn't want Ken to feel hurt. She even apologizes for how she treated him earlier. Ken jumps at the chance to make peace and confesses the big secret, that his little buddies are missing. Back home, Momo laughs so hard she can't breathe. She can't believe Ken is so slow that he only just noticed his missing organs. Seiko steps in to use his power to scan Ken's body. That's when Momo spots a red aura hiding inside him, which soon escapes into a nearby Lucky Cat figurine. It turns out that the aura is none other than Turbo Granny, the speedy evil spirit who still isn't fully dead. Turbo Granny has lost her speed and gets caught by Momo's psychic power. This sneaky spirit has been hiding inside Ken, planning to get her strength back and then go for revenge. Now that she's been exposed, only her spirit escapes, leaving her powers behind in Ken's body. Momo knows that Turbo Granny once helped girls who died in the tunnel, so she's not a completely evil spirit. Momo decides not to be too harsh, as long as Turbo Granny gives Ken's balls back. But to everyone's shock, Turbo Granny lost them. Things just got way more complicated. Turns out Ken's treasures containing life-giving power are super popular among spirits or yokai. And since Turbo Granny enveloped them with a golden layer, they have a very unique glow. If they ended up outside, chances are, either humans or spirits have already picked them up. Seiko tries to comfort Ken, telling him not to panic. She'll help look for them. But actually, what Ken concerns about more is that Turbo Granny's power once again possesses his body. So once he loses control and transforms in public, the results could be catastrophic. His concern nearly comes true. One of Ken's classmates who often bullies him suddenly acts nice, asking Ken to introduce him to Momo. Apparently, he's heard nasty rumors about her and now has some gross ideas. Hearing his insult on Momo, Ken instantly loses control. The power in his body begins to flare up. Furious, he warns the guy never to spread the unreliable rumors about Momo. Thankfully, before Ken starts killing, he manages to regain his sanity. Just as Ken sits back to his seat, he realizes Turbo Granny has followed him to school, hiding in his school bag. He still has no idea what to do with the evil spirit when Momo appears. He's supposed to tell her about it, but he can't meet her gaze as he starts to perceive her as cute. During his hesitation, Turbo Granny grabs the chance to slip away. Meanwhile, Era is back to playing as a sweet girl, fooling other students, while secretly spreading rumors about Momo. It turns out that Era is the one who picked up Ken's ball, which was lost during the fight with Turbo Granny. The golden ball gave her mysterious powers, and now she sees herself as some kind of savior. When Momo hit her with a basin last time, Era spotted Momo's psychic powers and assumed she was a demon, so now she's out for revenge by spreading the rumors. Since the rumors were somehow shut down by Ken, Era moves on to her next plan. But before she can act, she spots a red-clad evil spirit at school. Out of caution, she halts and hides. After school, Era lures Momo into an abandoned building, where two of her classmates try to ambush Momo. Meanwhile, Era holds up a cross to exorcise Momo, but Momo easily knocks out the two classmates, and then spots the shiny golden ball in Era's hand, realizing it belongs to Ken. Just then, Ken shows up to warn Era about the red-clad evil spirit, but he's too late. The spirit snatches Era first, while Ken jumps in to help and transforms, only to get swallowed whole in one gulp. Momo quickly yells at the spirit to spit him back out. Era thought the red-clad woman was Momo's familiar, and now she finally realizes she was wrong. She shouts that she's going to destroy the evil, only to end up getting eaten herself. The spirit moves extremely fast, attacking and dodging with dance-like movements. Even Momo can't escape and gets swallowed too. At this moment, Turbo Granny becomes the key to turning the tide. As she has possessed a lucky cat figurine, she unexpectedly gained the power to bring good fortune. Meanwhile, the cross array used for exorcism is actually a cross-shaped lighter, which Momo lights from inside the spirit. With flames bursting out, the three humans are saved. The spirit seems to pay extra attention to Era, taking the girl as her own daughter and wanting to eat Era so they could stay together forever, mother and child. Momo struggles to hold the spirit back with her psychic powers. Meanwhile, Ken finds himself in yet another awkward situation. He's totally not for fighting. In past battles, all he did was bite or run away. Luckily, the moment Momo is in danger, Ken's hidden potential finally kicks in. He lands a heavy hit, knocking the spirit out for now. Turbo Granny helps Ken retrieve his balls from Era, but the bad thing is, Era is already dead. Neither Momo nor Ken can accept it. Desperately, they start CPR, doing everything they can, but there's no sign of life. That's when the spirit restores consciousness. She offers to give all of her remaining power to bring Era back to life. To show her sincerity, she even tears off her most dangerous weapon, the giant mouth. Turbo Granny confirms that the red-clad spirit is the only one who can save Era. So, under the guidance of the spirit, Momo uses her psychic ability to connect Era's fading life force with the spirit. During the process, Momo accidentally sees the spirit's memories. Back when she was alive, she was a single mother. In order to raise her daughter and pay off her debts, she worked several jobs, and even sacrificed her body and dignity. All she wanted was for her daughter to wear pretty clothes and live a happy life, but she couldn't even grant that tiny wish. In the end, her daughter was taken away by loan sharks as repayment. losing the one she cared about most. She died filled with obsession and sorrow, unable to pass on. Her memories are broken and incomplete. Then, Momo sees her wander the streets aimlessly, until she met a girl. That girl was Era. For some unknown reason, Era could see her, and even mistook her for her late mother. From that moment on, the poor ghost treated Era as her own child. When Era gained the ability to see spirits for longer periods, thanks to Ken's golden balls, the spirit was overjoyed, but her strong maternal love turned into madness. Only when Ken knocked her out did she regain her senses. Now, Era comes back to life because of the spirit's left power. But as for the poor mother, still burdened with regret, she won't be able to reincarnate. Instead, she'll vanish completely with all her powers gone. Just then, Era suddenly steps forward and hugs the spirit, calling her mom. Like Momo, she saw the spirit's memories too, blessed by Era's words. The spirit finally lets go of her regrets, and at last, she's free to reincarnate in peace. As the crisis is resolved, Momo makes a proposal to ease the lingering hostility between her and Era. She apologizes to Era for using her powers to drop the basin on her, and hopes Era can also apologize for looking down on Ken. But things take a bizarre turn. Era's grudge against Momo doesn't come from the incident, but because she believes Momo is a demon, now that she has witnessed Ken's transformation, and Momo's so-called grandma looking way too young. Era is convinced they're both demons. She imagines that Momo is a high-ranking demon who rules over other demons, planning to destroy the world. Momo is speechless. She suspects Era's brain got fried from watching too much anime. Funny enough, Era is actually grateful that Ken saved her multiple times, and promises to rescue him from Momo. As you might have noticed, Era falls in love with Ken. After Era leaves, Ken begins ritual to have his ball returned to the proper place. We see Turbo Granny pitches the golden ball like a baseball, and one of Ken's missing balls is finally restored. The group returns to their normal lives. Ken pretends to be busy with homework just to keep some distance from Momo. He's sensed his feelings to Momo, but wants to spend some time training and getting stronger to feel worthy of those feelings. Momo has no idea what Ken's thinking, but she senses something's wrong. She decides to investigate what's going on with him, only to trigger a huge misunderstanding. At the courtyard, Momo happens to see Ken on top of Era. She never imagined Ken was lying about doing homework just to secretly go on a date with Era. Back to a few minutes earlier, the truth was something else entirely. Ken was secretly training to get stronger when Era suddenly showed up and confessed her feelings. She probably had watched some adult videos her dad owns, trying to do what she saw to Ken. As she attempts to kiss him, Ken freaked out. He couldn't believe the most popular girl at school is actually clueless about love. As he tried to fend off her aggressive confession, both of them tripped and fell, and that's when Momo walked in. Ken chases after Momo, trying to explain, but he's terrible at expressing himself, and Momo's too mad to listen, so the misunderstanding doesn't get cleared up. Later, during chemistry class, the teacher starts talking about mantis shrimp. This creature punches super hard underwater, but will injure themselves if it tries the same in open air. Right now, Momo has no idea this random fact is about to save everyone in a few minutes. While Ken's secretly training in class, water suddenly floods the floor and all the students vanish. Era's scream echoes from outside, and Ken rushes out to find her. The hallway is empty except for Ken and Era, and outside, everything is pitch black. Momo, trapped on another floor, finds the windows can't be opened at all. Then, footsteps that sound nothing like a human's echo down the hall. It turns out to be from a dinosaur-like creature. Its skin cracks open with glowing golden light, and it shoots lasers from its mouth which can easily blow up buildings. Meanwhile, Ken and Era are facing a strong enemy, a powerful alien called Mantis Shrimp. Just as Ken braces for battle, Serpo aliens launch a sneak attack. Using psychokinesis, they paralyze Ken and knock Era away. Turns out, this is a void space created by the Serpo aliens that only traps people with powers. When they explain their plan, Ken is devastated because it seems his recovered ball is about to be taken away again. The Serpo aliens are intrigued by his transformation from and want to take part of his body for research. Just as Ken is about to lose his ball, a red-haired figure suddenly appears and attacks the Serpo aliens. It turns out that Era has inherited the power from the red-clad spirit. And now, just like Ken, she can transform too. Seeing Ken naked, Era is embarrassed, but somehow a bit excited. Ken didn't expect that he would show up naked in this episode, immediately rushing to the classroom to find something to wear. During the battle, Era starts to fall behind. Serpo alien is absolutely cold-hearted, showing no mercy to attack Era. Even they accidentally hurt their subordinate Mantis Shrimp by wide-range attacks. After a few rounds, Era gets pinned down by Serpo alien psychic powers. It turns out that the Serpos are interested in Era's transformation as well, intending to turn her into a lab rat. In the critical critical moment, Ken throws aside his shame and transforms to save her, only to get suppressed by 3 Serpo's psychic power. Both Ken and Era are forced out of their transformed states, and inside the void space constructed by the Serpo aliens. Gravity keeps everyone frozen. That means Ken and Era are completely powerless. To be extra guaranteed, the Serpos make Mantis Shrimp to keep punching Ken on his head. Just then, Ken can transform again. It turns out that Momo damaged the void space with her powers and broke free from the dinosaur controlled by the Serpos, rushing over to help. What follows is a tug-of-war. The Serpos first try to suppress Momo with their psychic powers. Then they inject some strange serum into Mantis Shrimp, mutating him into something even stronger. But Momo quickly turns the tide again and suppresses the Serpos. Meanwhile, Ken and Era team up against Mantis Shrimp. The way the fight makes them embarrassingly close to each other, catching Momo's attention. The Serpo alien sees the opportunity to get Ken and Era de-transformed. Just then, the walls and ceiling turn into water, while the dinosaur shows up to assist the Serpo aliens. Hilariously, the Dino's too dumb to tell friend from foe, and ends up attacking everyone including the Serpos. Era gets stuck in the ceiling water, while Ken and Momo can't reach her under Mantis Shrimp's attack. Luckily, the shrimp has a weakness, that it needs to surface for air every once in a while. However, since Turbo Granny can't swim, Ken can't use her cursed power to get away from Mantis Shrimp faster. What's worse, Ken and Momo somehow start bickering. Momo's mad about being lied to and ignored, while Ken complains about her always ignoring his explanation. But in the end, they put the fight on pause, and Momo once again show her wisdom. Even though Ken can't swim using Turbo Granny's power, Momo can control his direction while underwater using her psychic power. That way, they can still make the use of Turbo Granny's explosive speed to swim faster. Thanks to this strategy, Momo manages to rescue Era. Another thing to mention is that to reduce drag, the 2 girls strip down to just their underwear. The Serpo aliens also switch tactics, fusing with them. The Serpo aliens also switch tactics, fusing with Mantis Shrimp and the dinosaur. Although powerful, the Dino has to rest every time it fires a laser, so the group of Momo seizes the chance to ambush the enemies. The problem is, Mantis Shrimp's attacks get buffed in water, making it the perfect bodyguard while the Dino recharges. Failing again, Ken completely breaks down. He's convinced there's no way to win a water battle. But that reminds Momo of what the chemistry teacher once said in class, and she hatches a wild plan. She appears in front of the fused monster and, just as it throws a punch, she uses her powers to compress all the surrounding water. As the Mantis Shrimp's punch slices through the air instead of water, there is no resistance of water to buffer the force, and its arm breaks from the strong force of the punch. With the fused monster getting hurt, Momo, Era, and Ken finally manages to exit the void space. Unfortunately, a naked guy and 2 girls in underwear soon catch the attention of the entire school. They are taken to the teacher's office, where a teacher nicknamed the Queen is gonna deal with the incident. The Queen is sure that the 3 students are under bullying, and that's why they showed up naked. Just then, a male teacher comes in to speak with her, but because he didn't knock, he gets beaten up. The Queen seems to be even more intimidating than Turbo Granny in her prime. After the teachers leave, Ken and the others start to talk about the Serpos. They are confused. If the Serpo aliens needed the power, why not just attack the evil spirits or yokai? They suspect the Serpos couldn't beat the yokai, which might actually be the reason why aliens haven't conquered Earth yet. In other words, the yokai and evil spirits are unknowingly protecting the planet. Touching his favorite topic, Ken becomes extremely excited. But speculation aside, they have a more pressing issue: to explain why they weren't wearing clothes. That's when 2 of Era's classmates show up, thinking Era must have been bullied by Momo. But Momo doesn't care about being misunderstood. What she concerns the most is the relationship of Ken and Era. Ken quickly explains that he just slipped while trying to avoid being kissed by Era, and although they looked suspicious for the closeness, it wasn't what it seemed. Momo then asks why he was hiding in a corner during break time. Ken confesses he was secretly training, hoping to show off a cool and manly side to her. Hearing this, Momo seems to sense the affection hidden in his words. She keeps going, asking him why he wanted to show a manly side to her. There is some romantic tension in the air, but the sudden appearance of Momo's 2 friends ruins it. While showing concern for their friend, the girls also let their imaginations run wild. Surprisingly, they actually get some parts right. In their fantasy, Momo and Era are rivals in love, and they held a no-clothes, hand-to-hand combat tournament to fight over Ken. Meanwhile, Era is also receiving concerns from her classmates. She wants to end the conversation quickly, but everyone is assuming she'd been bullied by Momo. Their gossip escalates from insults to spreading wild rumors about Momo's private life. Having changed a lot through everything she'd been through, Era finally confesses that it was her that made up the rumors about Momo, asking her classmates to stop speaking badly about Momo. Era gives up the image she created and cares about most, but in return, she gains something more precious: friendship with Momo. Just as the two girls make peace, an enemy again steps in, who turns out to be the mantis shrimp. But he is extremely weak and tried to complete his mission to earn money. His body has already worn out, and before the fight even begins, he passes out. When he wakes up, he is in tears because he dreamed of saying goodbye to his son before leaving for work. Meanwhile, Momo is excited. Her grandma never believed in aliens, but now she has solid proof. But Seiko thinks the mantis shrimp looks more like a yokai. Kappa, suspecting that Momo is showing her a fake alien, mantis shrimp doesn't mind being mistaken for a kappa. He is just deeply grateful for Momo's help with his treatment and food. His past employers were like heartless capitalists, squeezing him dry. This is the first time a stranger has shown him kindness, and he finally shares his story. His son has a strange illness that causes him to lose a lot of blood every day. Therefore, the mantis shrimp needs money for his son's treatment. Despite his species' reputation for strength, he is too weak to find a proper job, leaving with the only choice to be hired doing evil tasks. Moved by his story, Ken decides to sell his kintama to help the mantis shrimp. But before Ken takes actions, Seiko picks up a familiar scent from mantis shrimp's wound, coming up with a new idea. She takes out a box of milk and asks mantis shrimp drink it. Soon, Seiko's assumption gets confirmed. It turns out that mantis shrimp's blood is milk. Seiko immediately offers to gift him a cow so his son will get a daily blood supply. Just like that, they become close friends. With the big issue resolved, a smaller one remains. Momo, along with Era and Ken, kneels down to beg Seiko for buying new school uniforms. But Seiko thinks Momo isn't behaving well, making a deal to have Momo style her hair in a funny way before getting the money. Momo sacrifices her dignity without hesitation for the uniforms. Just then, the doorbell rang. The moment she opens the door, Momo is shocked. Seiko turns to Ken and casually reveals that the late-night visitor is none other than Momo's first love, Jean. As Momo's first love, Jean has the body of an athlete. His sudden appearance makes Ken feel inferior. But surprisingly, Jean turns out to be a funny guy who never stops cracking jokes the moment he shows up. Era has a wild imagination. She starts suspecting that Jean might also be a demon, and that Momo is secretly gathering a demon army to destroy the world. Immediately, Era sets off to recruit a team of superheroes to stop Momo. After she leaves, Ken decides to walk away too. He drags his feet like a middle-aged man who just got fired, with an odd ache right where his heart is. Jin's appearance stirs the emotions of both Ken and Momo, while also kicking off a countdown to the next danger. Seiko tells Momo that Jin's parents are currently in the hospital, and he'll need to stay here for a while. While washing the dishes, Jin apologizes for making fun of Momo's spirit medium family when they were kids, because recently, he has developed the ability to see spirits too. Momo assumes Jean, like Era, must have picked up one of Ken's balls to gain the ability, but Jean has never seen any golden balls, taking Momo's words as some kind of dirty joke. Turns out, his ability emerged since his family moved to the mountains, where strange things happened. At first, it was his parents' sudden illness, and then an evil spirit started showing up constantly in front of Jean. Jean hired 5 spirit mediums to perform exorcisms, and 3 of them have already committed suicide. Before they died, they told Jean that only Seiko has the power to deal with the spirit. However, since Seiko's powers only work within the area she's from, she hands this long-distance mission over to her granddaughter, Momo. Only then does Jean realize Seiko, who looks so young, is actually Momo's grandmother. Before the exorcism begins, Jean transfers into Momo's class. His cheerful nature makes him popular. Everyone, boys and girls, take a liking to him in the very beginning. Jean loves to mess around. He boldly announces in front of the whole class that he and Momo are living together with both sets of parents' approval. Momo is so furious she could kill this idiot. Meanwhile, Ken can't focus on the lecture at all. He's filled with thoughts about Jean and Momo. He's worried Momo might fall in love with Jean again, and that he'll lose her forever. At lunch break, Ken decides to cheer up, starting with working out in a quiet corner. Just then, Momo shows up to invite him for lunch, but awkwardly followed by Jean. Seeing Momo and Jean chatting happily, Ken decides to give up on Momo, but suddenly, someone yells, "Don't give up!" An anatomical model, Teru, from the chemistry lab springs to life and leaps over them. Just then, Momo notices he's holding a golden ball, and the trio immediately gives chase. By now, Momo and Ken's collaboration has developed to perfect. Even though the road is a mess, they breeze right through it. Momo uses her powers to try pulling Teru toward her, only to see his body shatter into pieces. But the next second, the shattering parts reassemble themselves, and Teru starts running again at full speed. Their chase leads them all the way to a junkyard. What comes next is touching, with a hint of absurdity. In the junkyard, they see an old half-body model, Hannah. Teru has always had feelings for Hannah, refusing to let her go, and that's why he rushed here. Teru's brave love for Hana reminds Ken of his own feelings for Momo. In that moment, he rediscovers the courage to chase after love. But his mission now is to protect the love between Teru and Hana. They keep Hana at Seiko's place temporarily, while Teru spends the day pretending to be a lifeless model, and sneaks out at night for romantic meetups. But for the reason why these two models came to life, the plot for now hasn't revealed it. Also, that shiny golden ball Teru was holding turns out to be just a Christmas ornament. Teru decorated himself with it just to impress Hana. Teru's burning love continues to inspire Ken. With passion, he declares war on Jean by singing the song from Slam Dunk, Anata Dake Mitsumeteru, I'll be only looking at you. Jean, completely clueless about what's going on, still gets caught up in the male ego showdown and starts singing Slam Dunk's opening theme, Kimida Sukidato Sukebatai, My Heart Draws a Dream. Just then, Seiko shuts this nonsense down. She tells Momo to head to Jin's place this weekend for the exorcism. Ken immediately proposes to join, as he wants this exorcism done and Jean can go home as soon as possible. That night, a group of students sneak into school for a ghost hunting game. Under the spooky vibe, Teru's sudden appearance scares them so bad that they almost pee on themselves. Despite all the chaos, Teru pushes through every obstacle and finally reunites with Hana at sunrise. Love isn't just for humans. The anatomical model couple is enjoying their romantic moment in the yard, while Jean is inside suffering. He has been unable to sleep for days, haunted by the image of the spirit lurking in his house. On the way to Jin's place, Ken decides to compete with Jean on their knowledge about aliens. Surprisingly, Jin's actually super into the topic and even compliments Ken's smarts. Now Ken's internal conflict begins. He is unable to retain the hostility towards Jean, who seems to be a nice and cool guy. Jin's house is located in a hot spring district. That makes Momo desire for a chance to enjoy the hot spring. When she finds no trace of spirits in Jin's house, she immediately decides to go for the hot spring first, and suggests coming back at night when the spirits are most active. But Momo's not just goofing off. She's trying to give Ken and Jean some time and space to help Ken make a new friend. Her kindness, however, brings her trouble. A group of creepy middle-aged men show up, claiming the hot spring is mixed bath. As they get way too close, Momo starts resisting, only to get pushed down into the water. At the same time, Ken and Jean have a strange discovery, a hidden space in the house. Jean then smashes through a wall, finding it plastered with thousands of talismans. I'm so happy to have you at the end of this video. This anime is one of my absolute favorites in recent years. It's got everything: aliens, spirits, legends, comedy, teen drama. You never know what's coming next. It's hilarious, bringing us a refreshing setting and epic battles. Momo acts like a battlefield commander, always quick on her feet, spotting every weakness of the enemy and turning it into a win. This isn't one of those anime where power levels solve everything. It's smart, strategic combat with real stakes. Season 2 will be released this July, so hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I'll be recapping the next episodes as soon as they air. That's all for this video, and see you in the next one.